In the remote wilderness of northern Canada, a family named the Andersons were preparing for their Christmas Eve. Now imagine this, folks. A quaint little house nestled deep within the snow-laden woods, standing as a beacon against the unforgiving cold outside. This was the Andersons' sanctuary, a cocoon of warmth and comfort where they planned to celebrate the joyous holiday, completely unaware of the sinister presence that was about to interrupt their tranquility. As the last rays of the sun bowed down to the impending night, the darkness swept in swiftly, bringing with it a howling wind that echoed eerily through the trees. The promised blizzard had arrived, and it wasn't holding back. Outside, the world transformed into a frozen abyss, but inside, the Andersons were safe, or so they thought. The warm glow of the fireplace danced upon their faces, casting long, flickering shadows on the walls. The Christmas lights twinkled merrily, reflecting in their wide, innocent eyes. They were an emblem of hope in the storm, a picture of serenity amidst the chaos outside. But you know what they say, all that glitters is not gold. As the blizzard continued its relentless assault, the cheerful laughter and the merry jingles of carols became a mere whisper against the roaring wind. The snow piled up against their house, burying it under a blanket of white, bringing with it an eerie silence that could chill one's bones. The Andersons knew they were stranded, locked in their own home for the night. Yet they held on to hope, believing that the storm would pass by morning. As they huddled together in the living room, sharing stories over steaming mugs of hot cocoa, a strange noise cut through the silence. It was a faint rustling, followed by muffled voices. They froze, their hearts skipping a beat. Panic seeped into their veins as they realized their sanctuary had been breached. But as the blizzard raged on, the family's laughter and merriment were drowned out by the relentless wind. As Christmas Eve turned into a nightmare, the real storm was just beginning for the Andersons. As they gathered in the living room telling stories and sipping hot cocoa, they heard a strange noise coming from the other end of the house. The Andersons froze, their hearts pounding as an unfamiliar sound sliced through the cozy hum of their Christmas Eve. It was a soft, rustling noise, like a gust of wind shaking the house. But it was more than that. It was the sound of something, or someone, moving. Then came the voices, low, gruff, and decidedly human. Panic surged through the room, as icy and paralyzing as the blizzard outside. They had expected to be marooned by the storm, but the thought of unwelcome guests had never crossed their minds. The realization hit them like a snowball in the face. They were not alone in the house. Mr. Anderson, a sturdy man of few words, sprung into action. He ushered his family into a small room, away from the prying ears of the intruders. His wife, children, and elderly parents followed him without a word, their faces pale and wide-eyed in the dim light. The room was tiny, barely big enough to accommodate them all, but it was hidden, tucked away in a corner of the house that the intruders were unlikely to stumble upon. They huddled together in the darkness, their breaths shallow and their bodies trembling. Outside the room, the house creaked and groaned under the weight of the intruders. Footsteps echoed through the hallways, growing louder and then softer, as if the men were searching for something, or someone. A wave of dread washed over the Andersons as they realized the danger they were in. In the darkness of the room, they clung to each other for comfort. Their Christmas cheer was forgotten, replaced by a bone-deep fear that made them wish for the safety of the blizzard outside. The room they had chosen was their sanctuary, their refuge from the unknown threats lurking in the house. The room they had chosen was dark, and they dared not make a sound, fearing for their lives. Meanwhile, two men cloaked in darkness entered the living room where the Andersons had just been. Their intentions were clear, their eyes gleaming with avarice as they began to rummage through the family's belongings. The storm had given them the perfect cover, a cloak of anonymity under which they could operate. The house, in their eyes, was a veritable treasure trove, filled with all sorts of trinkets and valuables. They moved with a practiced ease, their gloved hands deftly picking up small items, assessing their worth before tucking them into their pockets. They were like shadows, moving silently, their every action precise and deliberate. As they moved from room to room, they left a trail of disarray in their wake. Drawers were left open, their contents strewn about. Furniture was upended, cushions torn apart in their relentless search for hidden treasures. In the children's room, they found a piggy bank, its ceramic surface painted in bright colors. With a swift motion, one of the thieves smashed it on the floor, coins scattering across the room. He stooped to gather them, a cruel smile on his face. Their audacious search was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Mr. Anderson. Confronted by the head of the family, the thieves found themselves a struggle, caught off guard. Mr. Anderson, driven by desperation and determination, was able to fend them away. A scuffle ensued, but ultimately the thieves were forced to flee, running out of the house in a hurry. Yet, through it all, the family remained hidden, their breaths held in, their hearts pounding in their chests. The aftermath was a scene of utter chaos, a stark contrast to the peace and warmth that had filled the house just hours before. The storm had been their accomplice, the howling wind and driving snow concealing nefarious deeds. But as the sun rose the next day, the extent of their violation would become painfully clear. The thieves had fled, but they left behind a family shaken but unharmed. As morning light pierced the icy wilderness, the Andersons emerged from their hiding place. Their hearts, still heavy with the remnants of last night's fear, began to flutter with the hope of a new day. The blizzard had ceased its fury, leaving in its wake a world cloaked in a thick blanket of snow. The inside of their home, once a sanctuary of warmth and holiday cheer, now stood in chaotic disarray. The Christmas tree, once adorned with twinkling lights and cherished ornaments, now lay toppled and bare. Presents, once neatly wrapped in colorful paper, were torn open and discarded. The thieves had taken not only their valuable possessions, but also their sense of safety and tranquility. Yet as they surveyed the wreckage, the Andersons found a strength they didn't know they possessed. They held each other close, their bond unbroken by the terror of the night. In that moment, they realized that the most precious things in life, love, family, and togetherness, were things no thief could ever steal. With newfound resolve, they set about contacting the authorities. The local police, a small but dedicated force, arrived swiftly despite the challenging road conditions. They listened to the Andersons' account with grave expressions, promising to do everything in their power to catch the culprits. As the day progressed, the Andersons worked together to restore some semblance of normalcy to their home. They righted the Christmas tree, gathered the scattered presents, and swept up the broken pieces. Their actions were a testament to their resilience, a silent vow that they would not let fear overshadow their Christmas day. By the time the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the snow-covered landscape, the Andersons had managed to salvage their Christmas. They sat together around their fireplace, the warmth seeping back into their bones and their hearts. As they shared a simple dinner, they found comfort in each other's company, their spirits buoyed by love and gratitude. Despite the terrifying ordeal, the Andersons were grateful to be alive and together on Christmas Day. In the end, the Andersons' Christmas Eve was a night they would never forget. Their home, a sanctuary nestled in the snowy wilderness, had been violated by an unanticipated menace. A night that was meant to be filled with laughter, love, and the magic of Christmas turned into a horrifying ordeal. Yet, despite the terror they faced, the Andersons found a newfound appreciation for each other. The bonds that held them together as a family were tested and ultimately strengthened. They were reminded of the importance of togetherness, of the love they shared, and of the strength they possessed when they stood united. The morning after, when the blizzard had subsided and the sun's rays pierced through the frosty windows, the Andersons found themselves still huddled together in the room, their hearts filled with relief and gratitude. They had survived. They had faced the unimaginable and emerged unscathed, their spirits unbroken. The ordeal had left them with a chilling tale to tell, a tale that would be etched in their memories forever. But it also left them with a profound sense of gratitude for their lives, for their safety, and most importantly, for each other. They spent the rest of their Christmas Day not bemoaning their stolen possessions, but cherishing their greatest treasure, their family. They laughed, they cried, they held each other close, and they celebrated their love and unity. It was not the Christmas Eve they had envisioned, but it was one that brought them closer than ever before. As the sun set on Christmas Day, casting long shadows across the snowy landscape, the Andersons sat by the fireplace once more. This time, however, the flickering flames did not just warm their bodies, but also ignited a renewed sense of hope, love, and resilience within their hearts. Thank you for joining us on this chilling tale. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. Until next time, remember, Not all Christmas stories are filled with joy and laughter.